Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm a well-shaped gorilla.
I like that one. And I am stoned.
There you go.
Welcome to episode 271, Fall Brawl 1997.
The rage
In the cage.
the brawl to follow them all, y'all.
War games. The match beyond, which they don't say the match beyond on the show. I was waiting for them to say it.
No,
They say then War Games has officially started. It's like, what about the match beyond?
Because Dusty's not there.
I know. But match beyond sounds cool.
So this was the fifth Fall Brawl produced by WCW. It took place on September 14th, 1997, from the Lawrence Hole Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with an attendance of 11,939 people.
This is me not shaking my stick.
hot dog.
Quite a few people there.
Yeah, nice little upgrade from the 3,800 we had last time, and I'm trying to remember how many we had the show before with that. I don't think it was that many.
I mean, WCW's been drawn, no matter the quality of the show. We are in Flair country.
True. We are in Flair country with the Four Horsemen advertised, so people got to come out.
It was smart. Put the Four Horsemen on top.
Yep.
No matter whether they're your Four Horsemen or not.
But we are in North Carolina.
Damn right we are.
Winston-Salem even.
Yep.
So Shane, did you do what you do?
Well, I did. And much as has happened in recent weeks here where I've sought out one thing and had to last minute fast track to find another, I had this awesome soda idea that apparently North Carolina has their own brand of soda.
Oh.
It's called Cheerwine, I believe is what it's called.
I've seen that before, but I've never tried it.
I looked it up and saw it's available in all these different places, and I went to Homeland because it said Homeland at 92nd May had it, and apparently they just rearranged or remodeled or something like that and got rid of a bunch of stuff, and
I bet
that's one of it
Cheerwine
where they just haven't had it.
Paired with the thing you brought probably would have been nice.
I bet it would have.
What is the flavor profile of Cheerwine, do you know?
Cheerwine is just a cherry cola.
Oh.
Well, not like cherry cola, cherry soda.
Cherry soda, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
a carbonated cherry beverage that they make in
North
what the hell am I
Carolina.
saying? North Carolina. There we go.
Cackalack.
But I had to do a little sidestep while I was standing in Homeland going, fuck, what the hell else do they have? So I looked up real quick, and apparently the state dessert, we've had their official state pie, but their state dessert is the coconut cake. So I brought cake, y'all. I just happened to, it worked out. I went to the bakery section of Homeland, and there was this huge coconut cake, only one of them, and I grabbed it because it was the only one there. And then I started walking towards the front counter, and I happened to notice this little table that had just like individual slices of cake, and there were 2 slices of coconut cake. So
Nice.
I sat that big ass $18 cake down on that table and grabbed these 2 slices instead.
They're big slices.
Yes, this is more than enough because that other cake would
fed
have
4
gone.
of us.
Yeah.
And it could have fed 8 because these slices are still big, but even though I cut them in half, but
It's nice and light, though.
it's.
It
Yeah,
was.
I mean, this one is just a simple white cake with, I don't know if it's coconut frosting.
White frosting with coconut.
It's white frosting, just
Okay.
coconut shavings basically on top.
Yep. And then topped with cherry. Made for a nice picture in the
Very cute.
the new WHX kitchen over here. It's not going to make any noise when I put my fork into it, but I'm at least going to take a bite and talk with my mouth full because,
For all you freaks out there.
tradition. I mean, it's Fall Brawl, y'all.
You ASMAR
He's
holes.
still talking.
And as he said at the beginning, he's stoned, so cake is good.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
I like cake. Cake tastes good. As somebody who is typically anti-confectionery coconut, this was, maybe it's just because the coconut wasn't that flavorful, but there's a lot of it on there, and I quite enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm not a huge coconut guy either, and I didn't mind it.
No, I
thought the cake and the frosting were very good.
Yep.
And
the coconut wasn't overpowering.
Wasn't overpowering.
It's when they do like the minced coconut that's like kind of wet, and they put it like when they put it on a German chocolate cake sometimes, and it's just like this. You ruined a perfectly good chocolate cake. Well, but this was just kind of some texture.
That was almost what I got, because they had the coconut cake and then they had the German chocolate cake next to it.
I mean,
well, now I saw the German chocolate first.
If you put coconut on a cake, it's not that I'm not gonna eat it. It's when you make like an almond joy, and I'm like, well, I won't be eating that. Like, then I just won't have an almond. Then I just won't eat the fun size candy that you have. But if it's a slice of cake, I'm gonna eat the slice of cake.
You need to try the chocolate-covered coconut at Reese's in Tulsa, because it's like an almond joy, but it doesn't have that wet stickiness to it. It's more of a dry coconut inside.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, Reese's
a whole lot better.
Great grocery store.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Crest will get them, but I mean, if I got to go to Tulsa to get my candy, I'll go to Tulsa to get my candy.
Well, something that would happen right around the same time as Fall Brawl, the game would release the same weekend.
It's time to play the game.
Would you like to play a game?
I mean, David Fincher's The Game.
This movie is fucking great.
It rules.
Yes.
I recently rewatched it. Actually, no, I recently watched it for the first time, as I watched every David Fincher movie last year, and which I'd seen most of. And The Game, I'm like, oh, everyone always said it was great. Nobody was lying.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, Sean Penn and Michael Douglas are typically good. You put them together, and nobody knew what the hell to expect. And in the time, around this time was when you had Seven, you had The Net, you had Copycat, you had all these good suspenseful movies coming out that kept you on the edge of your seat. And this one
has the best gimmick.
Yeah,
the gimmick being that you're told it's a game, and you watch him like. It'd be too real.
Yes.
And then even you start to think that maybe it's not.
It's like Total Recall without the aliens.
Yeah. Incredible allegory. Like, perfect. So, it's the non-sci-fi Total Recall. It's like, rich people, like, what can they buy? And it's like, they can buy a real experience.
You don't need a topless, woman with 3 tits. You've got just total mindfuck going on in this movie, just with the cast that you have here. And I gotta look it up, because I don't remember.
David Fincher could shoot a toilet and make it interesting. Like, his movies always look incredible. So
Michael Douglas and Sean Penn are the two most well-known people.
Yeah, who's the female? She's basically the
Debra
second.
Unger.
Yeah, Debra. She's basically the second lead.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was somebody else in there, but nope.
I think there's.
I mean, James Rebhorn is in it, but I mean. And he's a guy that you would recognize if you saw a picture of him, but he's not a name.
Yeah.
That you're gonna.
But I mean, it's definitely, and it's
I mean, I basically remember seeing. I watched Seven, and I was like blown away by Seven.
7 rules.
And I was like, anything this guy Fincher puts out, I'm gonna watch. And then The Game was the next movie that he released.
Yeah. And, perfect next movie.
And I was just like, holy crap, no one's talking about this movie. And
it wasn't a huge hit?
Amazing. No.
It wasn't a movie theater hit.
No,
it was a video.
Video.
Because I was at Blockbuster at the time, and it was one of those that was like number 1, number 2 rental of the year.
Yeah.
It literally only made $48 million domestically.
Oh yeah. And that movie was not cheap.
Yeah.
I imagine.
It was a $50 million movie.
Yeah.
And it made less than its budget.
Yeah, it's a bummer about I guess VOD sales are bigger than people think they are, but the video store really saved a lot of people's careers.
On IMDb anyways, it says the game is based on an original screenplay by screenwriters John D. Brancato and Michael Ferris. The basic story idea, however, is lifted from the Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode Happy Birthday.
Oh, cool.
Season 1, episode 18 that aired March 23rd, 1986.
I just saw that Fincher actually planned to make this movie before Seven, but Brad Pitt became available for the latter, so he shelved it until the filming of Seven was done.
So he knew what he was getting into. All right. Well, since it's a big director, we got to do it.
Jodie Foster was actually supposed to play the main girl role.
Oh, well, she got her moment in Panic Room.
Yeah.
Another good movie.
Yeah.
Favorite Finchers, guys?
It definitely did not need her in this one. I mean, I'm sure she would have been great in it, but...
Yeah. Michael Douglas was pretty perfect for this. But yeah, just your favorite.
David Fincher movie?
Yeah, let's go. Let's each do it. We got to. We do this every time there's a big director.
Yeah, that's true. We do this every time. I'm like, it's such a tough decision with Fincher.
It is.
Because I'm like, I love Seven so much that it's...
I don't think there's any bad answers. It'd be surprising if anybody said Mank, and it would be surprising if anybody said Benjamin Button. It would also be surprising if anybody said Alien 3. And I like all of those movies.
And into director. There we go.
I mean, Seven and Fight Club are two of my favorite movies of all time. So it's like choosing.
Yeah.
It's like choosing your child.
I mean, you can. Yeah,
they
can be tied for first. You know.
Let's see.
Totally acceptable.
But like, The Game is one of those movies that I do give people that like are looking for a movie that they've never heard of.
Yeah, he was a music video director for The Outfield. Really?
Yeah, he had a huge music video career. Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's get out of the music
How was
videos.
The Killer?
I like The Killer
I haven't watched it yet.
a lot, but yeah, The Killer is good and it's kind of funny. And I've read the comic book that it's based on, but it's not really the same thing at all. And it has a bunch of music by the Smiths in it, so that also works for me.
That's tough.
And then there's there's Zodiac, which is
Zodiac and
is an amazing film on its own. Like Social Network.
Yeah, Zodiac's my number one, and after that I don't really know, but I might go Zodiac and Gone Girl as my favorites.
It's probably easier for me just to tell you that my least favorite movie of his is Mank, and I didn't hate Mank.
No, I don't hate Mank.
I didn't want to see Mank, unfortunately.
It's very good, but it's one of those movies that it's like, who is this for? And it's like, oh, well, his dad wrote this like screenplay a long time ago.
It's his love letter to his dad.
Yeah, so it's like not.
It doesn't feel like a Fincher film at all.
Outside of that, it looks incredible.
Yeah,
but like, yeah.
All right, this is tough because.
But I'm a Zodiac guy for sure. But I don't dislike
I
any
gotta
of his
go
movies.
I gotta go for 7, but then I'm also seeing, just because I had to flip through like 400 music videos, he directed George Michael Freedom, 1990.
Yeah, good music video.
So I'm gonna add that as my number 2 because that music video was fucking amazing.
But yeah, they're all good. There's no bad Fincher movies.
What was most amazing about it was George Michael was not in it, so that's what was great.
That's the one with all the supermodels.
Supermodels and like the Wham memorabilia and
Yeah.
George Michael as his sex image self from Faith and whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's a really good
like
video.
his glove and sunglasses and shit like that. But
I watched a bunch of his music videos as well when I went through
Straight
his.
Up by Paul Abdul.
Yeah.
Cold Hearted.
did Madonna Express Yourself?
Yep, great movie. I mean, great video.
Vogue.
Yeah, Vogue, incredible video. I mean, Madonna didn't really have bad videos.
Wow.
I mean, there's a reason that he made his way to film.
Foreigner, Loverboy, Colin Hay.
Oh,
Dude.
for Matt.
Love Colin Hay.
I know you too. But yeah, none of them are bad. They're all good.
Wait.
What?
No.
I'm
This
listening.
one goes to the top now.
Okay.
As much as, this one goes above 70 of them.
Okay. It's a music video. It's 3 minutes long.
Jermaine Stewart. We don't have to take
Oh,
our clothes
yeah.
off.
He did do that video. Damn. Jermaine Stewart, like, great song. Maybe the ugliest man to have such a, like, huge hit.
But that was the thing back then. You had to be the goofiest looking dude in the 80s, and all the ladies loved you.
Right, yeah.
I wanted you to take
But
your
did
clothes
Jermaine love the ladies?
off. He got paid to anyways. In song. I think he may have been like Tevin Campbell before Tevin Campbell.
But the point of all this,
Yes.
Pro Fincher.
if you haven't seen The Game,
Yes. Go watch the game.
I give you permission to pause the podcast right now.
Hold on. I'm not even going to double check. I'm going to help you. Let's see where it's streaming at.
I think I watched it. I think I watched it on Max.
Where
but
to
that was
watch?
a year ago.
Well, so far it says only pay places. Amazon Prime, Apple TV. Venmo,
Give them
Home.
$3.
Yep, it's totally worth $3. I went to the theater to see it, so I gave them a whole lot more than $3 a couple times.
I mean, if you know me, you can call me and I'll give you the copy of my DVD.
Yeah, I used to have it on VHS, but those all got ruined in the flood.
It's all right. It'll be okay. They look like shit now.
Let's talk some Fall Brawl. Video package opens with a date, August 25th, 1997.
It's 2 days after my 20th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Flair is speaking about friendship in wrestling, as you're a lucky man if you have even one person you call a friend at the end of the road. And he's speaking about Arn Anderson, who had just retired.
The Enforcer.
Before seeing the Enforcer give his Horseman spot to Kurt Hennig. We then see clips of the NWO mocking that ceremony, followed by Roddy Piper, who is now the acting chairman of the executive committee after Hogan had attacked J.J. Dillon.
I think they're like, well, Sergeant Slaughter is over on the other show.
Yep.
Yeah, we need someone a little bit more charisma than J.J. Dillon, which we all love J.J. Dillon, but
yeah, he's more of the no bullshit manager than the charismatic.
He's the Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah,
we need a Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah,
and Piper would change the War Games match to Horsemen versus NWO,
as it should be,
before a CGI tank shoots at us. Tony Schiavone then welcomes everyone to the show, joined by Mike Tenay and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Also telling us that Larry Zbyszko will join them later in the show.
Where's the dream?
I don't know where the dream is.
Me neither.
He's at home with a little nightmare.
I was surprised. He might be, yeah. He might be nightmare watching.
Today believes Piper has brought unity and solidarity to WCW, with Tony confirming the NWO have included the men that Flair wanted for their team, as they were the ones that did the parody. So that's why he wanted those specific four.
Yeah, because why would you want
good wrestlers
Konnan and Buff Bagwell instead of Scott Hall
and Hogan?
Yeah,
the NWO.
Oh, yeah. Syxx is definitely like the fourth guy.
Yeah.
And he's not even, and he's like, there's still some spaces before his name starts at this point.
But we go to our first match, Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Jericho.
Feed me.
For the WCW World Cruiserweight Championship.
Put it in my veins.
Yeah, not mad about that.
Mm-mm. I love that Eddie comes out and the Chiron's wrong and it says Harlem Heat for a quick flash. It's like really quick, but it's like Harlem Heat. I'm like, oh, oops.
Yeah, that was I saw that and it's like, okay, so this is how it starts. Cool.
So the story behind this match was that everybody learned that Guerrero was in cahoots with Jeff Jarrett and Debra, convincing them to stick it to Dean Malenko,
the Devil's Threadway,
at Road Wild. But we all know that Debra only works with champions, so Eddie needed to win a title.
It's a low blow.
Setting his sights on the Cruiserweight belt by attacking Chris multiple times. And the last time we saw Guerrero wrestle was at Uncensored 97, episode 246. And the last time we saw this belt was at Road Wild with Alex Wright as champion. But since then, Jericho had defeated him on a WCW Saturday night to be champion here.
It's funny that I'm pretty sure him and Alex Wright had like 2 matches on pay-per-views, and Alex Wright won, and then Chris Jericho beats him on the least watched show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you got to tune in. You never know what's going to happen.
Sure, but like Chris Jericho could be that much more over if he beat Alex Wright on pay-per-view.
Yeah, but that's kind of the saga of Jericho in these days, and he becomes very vocal about it eventually.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I guess one of those things too where I assume he eked out the win on Alex Wright, and they're not throwing Alex Wright to the wolves yet. Moderately respectful. It's the Cruiserweight title. You should have titles change on television in this era sometimes.
Fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
We watched this on Peacock, the network, whatever you want to, wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Chris's music, as he comes out, is actually his WWF theme, Break the Walls Down.
Yeah.
I don't even pay attention to that.
But the song that actually plays is this. It's a ripoff
Of Even Flow?
of Even Flow.
Even though. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did catch the Even Flow. It's like, oh yeah, you're right there. It's almost a karaoke version.
So, our two competitors trade arm drags, takedowns, and mat holds, with Eddie complaining that Jericho is hair pulling his way through the match, followed by Chris working the arm. Guerrero works his way free momentarily to go for a law magistral cradle, only for Jericho to counter into a law magistral of his own before going back to the arm.
You can point at Eddie sucks chance, and Eddie is looking like a dirty, salty dog.
Yes, I was going to say.
His facials have, just, seems like a new man. An angry man, but a new one.
Yes.
All the same.
He's got that scowl while also having that, evil smirk at the same time already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of trepidation in his eyes.
Yep.
Eddie escapes and starts to run the ropes, but he's caught and dropped across them for a hot shot, followed by a lion salt for a 2 count. Chris goes back to the arm attack with Guerrero hits a hot shot of his own to escape. A drop kicks Jericho several times and places his opponent in surfboard variations, followed by a slingshot senton for a near fall. Eddie then applies a gory special, which is like an upside down backbreaker, which Chris reverses into one of his own
Reverse.
before just dropping him with an inverted electric chair drop.
Right on the face.
And both men miss elbow drops, followed by trading strikes, until Guerrero goes for a rope walk, only for Jericho to knock him down, causing Eddie to crouch himself, before also nailing a springboard dropkick that sends Guerrero to the apron. And Chris heads out to attempt a powerbomb, with Eddie fighting back to knock Jericho down to the floor, but it does cause Guerrero to be hot-shotted once again. And Chris heads back into the ring, only for Eddie to trip him up, allowing him to fly over the ropes with another slingshot senton. But Jericho avoids, grabbing Guerrero from behind to deliver a release German for the pin. And no, Eddie gets a boot on the ropes.
It's a sick bump. This is great shit. This is what we live for. This is why we do the show.
Chris goes for another powerbomb, only for Guerrero to counter into a Uranagi, but he can't capitalize as he charges into a power slam. A reversed whip then sends Jericho to a corner with Eddie charging in, but he's caught and tossed to the mat face first, followed by a spinning heel kick for a 2 count. And Chris continues with a flapjack and another law magistral, but Guerrero blocks and makes the cover for a near fall. Eddie then leaps to Jericho's shoulders for a hurricanrana, only to be caught for a double powerbomb, followed by placing him on the turnbuckle for a superplex. Oof. But Guerrero counters into a crossbody in midair to land on top, before heading back to the top to fly off with a frog splash for the pin and the win. And new!
This is that shit.
Yep. This is that hot shit that we've been missing to start these shows the last couple episodes.
I love it. I mean, we've talked about how some matches we've watched seem like toned down Super J Cup matches.
Mm-hmm.
This one feels like a Super J Cup match.
Like you're there, but you can stand up and cheer.
Mm-hmm. You can stand up and cheer in Japan. You just have to. You got to be really into it. They cheer their asses off. I don't appreciate people shitting on Japanese fans. They at least
Japanese
they don't.
fans.
Yeah, they don't boo chin locks, and we don't. I don't either. I mean, I can't speak for all of you.
Tony then sends it backstage to see Jeff Jarrett on WCWWrestling.com. And our favorite intern asks him how he feels about facing Kurt Hennig at an upcoming show. With Double J responding, you'll see him put the figure 4 on the Horsemen's newest member. And everyone will find out why Jarrett is the greatest wrestler in the world. The intern then asks about Double J's match with Malenko. But the music hits for our next match before we hear an answer. And we also get told that Larry Zbyszko is joining our commentary team for our second match.
ZYB.
Already adding to it.
Harlem Heat of Booker T and Stevie Ray with Miss Jacquelyn versus the Steiner brothers of Rick and Scott Steiner with Ted DiBiase.
What's with these Steiner brothers and their new crispy white gear?
I mean, it goes with Scott's crisp little goatee.
Yeah, his crisp dyed like black goatee.
So the story behind this match was that WCW still considered the Steiners the number one contenders even after the results of Road Wild, which of course Harlem Heat took exception to, causing this feud to flare back up.
Not a great excuse, but more Steiners the better.
Yep.
So Scott and Stevie start us off with strikes, hip tosses, and big boots to the face, before Stevie Ray hits a side slam, only for Scotty to answer with a belly-to-belly suplex, sending Stevie out to a group. And Booker comes in with Scott working the arm, but Booker T escapes and ducks a clothesline to place Steiner in a full Nelson, only for Scotty to power his way free and go for a suplex, with Booker floating over and delivering a vertical suplex of his own. Booker T then heads up top, but Scott catches and drops him with another belly-to-belly suplex, followed by a press slam, which leads to everybody jumping in the ring to brawl, only for Rick to Steiner line Harlem Heat to the floor.
And they pose.
Back in the ring, Rick and Booker match up, with Steiner taking control of strikes, holds, slams, and quick tags, until Rick charges into a big boot, allowing Stevie Ray to pound away on the dog-faced gremlin. And Harlem Heat's using quick tags, but Rick catches a leapfrogging Booker T with a power slam for a 2 count.
I mean, it's kind of my favorite thing that the Steiners can do, is just catch you off guard and put you to the mat.
Stop you midair.
Yeah, just
down.
Quick and heavy.
You know, it's family tradition now because old Braun's
He's
picked it up.
He's
put
the
it down.
king of it at the moment, that's for sure. And I believe he will be for a while.
Yep.
Scott tags in, only to be kicked by Stevie on the apron when he's whipped towards the ropes, followed by Booker thrust kicking him over the ropes, where Jackie and Stevie Ray attack him, ramming Scotty into the railing and choking him with a cable.
Jack attack. It's really funny that Jackie, I don't know if it's our lovely Steiner brother or the lovely Jacquelyn that messes this up, but whatever she does to him, he sells it or whatever, but she just kind of puts her hand out and he sells it. It's very awkward. She doesn't quite connect, but I'm glad she's there.
And Rick has seen enough, so he comes over to help, allowing Scott to get back in the ring, with Booker T wearing him down more with chin locks and elbows, until Booker goes for a wheel kick, only for Scotty to catch and drop Booker T with a back suplex.
Yeah.
And Scott crawls to his corner for the hot tag. Rick cleans house with Steiner lines, slams, and a back body drop, followed by a top rope bulldog to Stevie, making the cover, but Booker breaks it up before also knocking Scott off the apron and to the floor. Harlem Heat then nails the Heat Seeker, which is a missile dropkick doomsday device.
And it is fucking intense.
Yeah.
They make the cover for the pin, and no, Scott makes the save, followed by knocking Booker T out of the ring with a forearm. The Steiners then deliver a Steiner line German suplex combo for the pin and the win.
And still, number one
contender. Yeah.
Until next week, whenever they fight again. Probably.
Yeah. I mean, but their matches are getting better.
Yeah.
I mean, these two teams have good chemistry. It's just that we've seen this match just so many times that it's I kind of just okay.
Yeah.
Even though the matches are always fun.
Yeah. The issue, I think, the biggest issue is that there's nobody else to have a match with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see these guys versus either of these guys versus any other tag team. Especially, I don't want to see the Steiners versus fucking
Public Enemy.
no. I don't want to see him versus the Mortis and fucking
Okay,
Rat.
I was trying to think of other tag teams and I couldn't think of any others.
Vicious and Delicious.
Oh yeah, forgot about them too. Stupid name.
Actually, I don't know that I would
Stupid
mind seeing them versus Mortis and Wrath, but it would be maybe not with those gimmicks.
Well, it would need to just be a match, but the
Not
way
on
that they do
pay-per-view.
it. Well, yeah, it'd need to be a Nitro match or a Saturday night, but I just feared that they'd put them working with them, and then we'd have 6 months worth of matches with them, just having the same shit.
Yeah.
But this time, James, whatever his name is,
Vandenberg.
there we go. I know he's not Mitchell yet.
Is that who he becomes?
So we got our third match. Ultimo Dragon versus Alex Wright for the WCW World Television Championship. And Mike today rejoins the commentators for this match, while the last time we saw this belt was at Slamboree 97, episode 254, when Steven Regal had defeated Dragon for the belt. Since then, Ultimo had regained the title before losing it again to Alex. Little hot potato with the old television championship.
Is Regal hurt? Is he just flapping in the wind?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And the two men trade takedowns until Dragon nails a drop kick that sends Wright to the floor to regroup, before returning for the two to exchange mat holds, when Ultimo delivers a series of kicks that again sends Alex to the floor. Back inside, Wright hits a hot shot to gain control, working over Dragon with stomps and a wheel kick for a 2 count, followed by a pancake and an elbow drop. And Alex goes to a sleeper when Ultimo fights his way free momentarily, only for Wright to go right back to the sleeper, until releasing it to nail an elbow drop and chokes across the ropes.
Alex Wright is feeling his heel self a little more dancing, a little more comfortable.
Yep. He needs to, dip into his back pocket and pull out some Paul Roma vibes.
Yeah.
Remind himself of what he went through and, start being a little more of a shit heel.
Yeah, he's a little smoother too.
Yeah.
With the chain wrestling stuff at the beginning of the match,
Grown up.
I'm pro Alex Wright.
Alex continues with a back suplex for a near fall before returning to the sleeper. But Dragon elbows free and hits a crossbody, followed by more kicks, only to whiff on a spinning heel one, allowing Wright to drop an elbow for a 2 count and go back to the sleeper, this time with leverage.
A few times.
I'm going to put my foot on the road.
Ultimo escapes again, with Alex telegraphing a back body drop, so Dragon goes for a sunset flip. But Wright stays up and punches down before doing some dancing, which allows Ultimo to pull him over for a near fall.
And Alex Wright's doing something correct. I almost said right. Correct when, the boos are getting louder for him and they don't feel like go away heat.
Alex responds with a clothesline and takes Dragon to the top, but he's shoved off, allowing Ultimo to fly off, only for Wright to get his boot up to the chin of Dragon.
And it looks very good. That spot sometimes doesn't look so good.
Alex with a wheel kick and a body slam, and he heads up top. But he meets a boot to the chin as well, followed by the 2 trading strikes that sends the fight to the floor, where Ultimo nails an Asai moonsault. Now back in the ring, Dragon charges into a boot, but he hits a Hurricanrana anyways, before the 2 exchange chops on their knees, when Ultimo would deliver a basement dropkick and head up top, only for Wright to fall into the ropes, causing Dragon to crotch himself.
He probably needed that second after his head crashed from that Hurricanrana.
Followed by a dropkick to send him out to the floor.
A spot I would never get tired of.
Alex would fly over the ropes with a slingshot crossbody before returning to the ring, where Wright would telegraph another back body drop.
Stop doing it.
So Ultimo nails a butterfly and tiger suplex for a 2 count. Dragon then places Alex on the top, but Wright fights him off to attempt a superplex of his own, only for Ultimo to sunset flip powerbomb Alex down to the mat for a near fall. Dragon with a moonsault for a 2 count. Hits a Hurricanrana, only for Wright to roll through for a near fall.
I mean, he's giving him all he's got.
Ultimo heads up top again, coming off, but Alex meets him in midair with a dropkick.
Oof.
That gets a 2. The two then trade inside cradles and law magistral pin attempts, with each getting near falls, when Dragon would avoid a charge in a corner, taking Wright to the top for a super Frankensteiner, before locking on the Dragon Sleeper, only for Alex to reach the ropes. And they make it to their feet with the two reversing their way through a sleeper, when Ultimo tries to transition it into a Dragon Sleeper. But Wright delivers a jawbreaker and a bridging German suplex for the pin and the win.
Going back to the well.
Yep.
You got you pinned. I don't know about you guys, but this was pretty great.
That was a great match.
Similar to that first match, this has J-Cup vibes, and I'm loving to see an Alex Wright get better. He's got a little bit of one of my favorite current wrestlers in him, Zack Sabre Jr., but I wish Zack Sabre Jr. had a little bit more of the physicality that Alex Wright has.
Does he dance?
He does not dance, but he's a bigger dickhead.
True.
He's great. He's great at being a dickhead. I love seeing Alex Wright do the correct thing as a heel by going back to the well with the reverse chin locks and sleeper holds. Keep him grounded because it's not as fun to watch. Psychology, man.
Mean Gene is in the back, and he plugs the hotline saying you can call to hear Double A's thoughts on the NWO parody, when he is interrupted by the NWO's War Games team running through his shot, and he calls them rude.
Bunch of hooligans, I tell you.
But Okerlund seems oblivious to the noise in the background before they run back by him. So at that point, he realizes something's up.
They're giggling like little schoolboys.
Sending Mean Gene into the locker room to find Kurt Hennig laid out on the floor.
No.
And he calls for help.
I don't know what they did wrong here, but this was flat as hell.
We go back out to the announcers who are angry. With Larry saying the Horsemen should know better. You always stick together at an event like this.
This is me tapping on my on my temple.
Larry's been here before. He's been in the War Games.
Yep, one of the more memorable War Games matches, I think.
Yep.
So we go to our fourth match. Jeff Jarrett with Queen Debra versus Dean Malenko to be the #1 contender for the WCW United States Championship.
Are they just putting like the best possible matchups they can on this show? I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Jeff Jarrett, Dean Malenko? Of course I want to see that.
Yep.
The man with
I'm
fucking, yeah. The cocky son of a bitch versus the guy with ice water in his veins.
The Queen Debra, though, I'm still trying to figure out how she got to
Queen status.
queendom. Yeah.
She has a sash on.
She's got a sash.
She's like
Doesn't she have a tiara too?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like a pageant queen. Is kind of the vibe. Southern Belle.
Can't wait for Charmel.
So the story behind this match was that Dean tried to get revenge on Double J the night after Road Wild. But Eddie and Mongo would both get involved. McMichael would end up defeating Jarrett at Clash 35 to win the belt, when Guerrero would hit Double J by accident, leading to Jarrett taking his frustration out on Malenko the next week, attacking him. And Dean and Double J would continuously cost each other victories, causing WCW to announce this bout with the winner to face Mongo at Halloween Havoc.
My God, can you think of how tasty this match is in ring versus either one of these guys versus Steve Mongo? Yeah, it's like if you beat me, you get to face. It's like, yeah, he's bigger, and I've said he's gotten better, but that doesn't mean that he's good.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
You have to give people, you have to grade people where they are.
So Jarrett decides that he doesn't want any distractions, so he sends Debra to the back before the match begins.
She's,
gentleman.
I love to see that. It's like, all right, it's mano-y-mano, man versus man.
Double J with an arm drag before strutting and posing, followed by Malenko working a headlock, causing Jarrett to complain about hair pulling.
Lots of hair pulling tonight, or at least complaints of it anyways.
Yes. The two go to the mat with holds, with Double J focused on the arm, until Dean drop-toe holds and walks on the back of Jarrett.
Get him.
Malenko continues with a drop kick that sends Double J to the floor, where he regroups, before returning to take the action back to the mat with a side headlock, only for Dean to respond with several right hands and turnbuckle smashes. And Jarrett ducks a roundhouse right and applies a sleeper, forcing Malenko to make the ropes, so Double J whips him into a corner, where Dean leaps over the ropes and to the top to fly off with a double axe handle. But a kick to the midsection allows Jarrett to attempt a suplex, only for Malenko to block, setting Double J on the turnbuckle to deliver a superplex.
Love to see it.
And the two trade strikes once they make it back to their feet. Jarrett avoids a dropkick and goes for a jackknife pin attempt, only for Dean to roll through and pound away with right hands, followed by a dropkick to the back. Malenko nails a German suplex and locks on the cloverleaf, which brings Queen Debra back out of concern for her man, while Double J reaches the ropes.
I love that as soon as the German release happens, the crowd knows he's going for the cloverleaf, and it's like, they know Malenko, and that's good. It's great to have a crowd that knows what's up.
He's got fans.
I mean, he's got one in me.
Dean crossbodies Jarrett that takes them both to the floor, with Debra checking on Double J, followed by Malenko going back into the ring, only to baseball slide back out, knocking Jarrett into the guardrail.
Railed.
And Dean works the leg of Double J on the outside, before rolling back in to hit a drop kick and forearm smashes. But he runs into a back elbow, allowing Jarrett to attack the leg of Malenko, include ramming it into the ring post.
And I had this thought while watching about around this time in the match. A dream match for like this time period would have been a Bret Hart, Dean Malenko. We talk about dream matches. It's like, how tasty a 96, 97 Dean Malenko versus Bret Hart could be. A lot of time dream matches don't quite provide exactly what you wanted, but on paper, that is a sexy match.
I'm trying to remember if we ever get that dream match.
I assume that they have a match
Possibly
like that.
In WCW.
Yeah, but it wasn't probably
no proper build-up or anything. It's just a TV match.
Yeah.
Both were probably not at their
But in a world where
anymore.
AEW exists, or that kind of lives to put these kinds of things on, a Malenko, Bret Hart, with no build-up and then just trying to have a great match.
Yeah.
Sounds so nice.
We just need to get a Team Bret, Team Dean.
Well, I don't want to see it now.
4-on-4.
I definitely don't want to see it now. I just want Bret Hart to be at
Just
home,
pick their teams.
loving his wife, and being salty about wrestling. That's the Bret I know and love.
As Double J is bouncing on the leg, Dean kicks him from behind, sending Jarrett crotching himself on the ropes, followed by Malenko trying to bring him in the hard way, only for his leg to give way, landing Double J on top for a 2 count. Dean locks on a sleeper, but Jarrett escapes with a back suplex, before leaping off the second rope with a falling fist. But when he sees Malenko get a boot up, Double J stops himself and goes to apply the figure 4, only for Dean to cradle him up for a near fall, followed by a backslide attempt for a 2 as well. Jarrett responds with a swinging neckbreaker, and he goes for a double underhook suplex, but Malenko reverses it, only for Double J to back body drop out of it. So Dean then counters with a sunset flip, with Jarrett rolling through and stacking up Malenko for the pin. And no! Dean flips Double J for the pin, and no! Jarrett kicks out.
I mean, it's good stuff.
Yep.
Malenko blocks a shin breaker and gets a boot up to a charging Double J, leapfrogging him only to tweak his knee, allowing Jarrett to chop block the leg and lock on the figure 4 for the submission and the win.
So sick. But that pin combo before our last little segment, Dean Malenko had such a snug and tight pin on Jarrett. It looked like it should have been a 3 count, but It wasn't.
Maybe
Jarrett had to win this one. I mean, we all would have loved to see Malenko win. And I love Jarrett too, but yeah, so good. A perfect fucking Southern heel versus a perfect man.
So this makes Double J the number one contender.
Mm.
But that match with Mongo will never happen. Because Jarrett doesn't make it to Havoc under contract to WCW.
Damn. I mean, he was like, I have to fight Mongo McMichael
Again.
for a title?
Again.
Can we move on?
Yeah. Didn't we do this already?
Mm-hmm.
Tony says they have to step away as the NWO has paid for promo time on this pay-per-view.
Sure they have.
With Larry responding, he will just give them their money back. But we get the promo anyways.
Oh, Larry.
And
It's
boy,
cute that you
it's
think
a
you have
bad
that
promo.
power.
And Kevin Nash starts that he can't believe it. They went for a soda when Kurt Hennig attacked them before leaving the room because he's verklempt.
Yeah, he's doing a little fake cry. You just can't believe it happened.
Syxx follows up that the Horsemen are finished, followed by Konnan speaking Spanish as he calls their team crazy dogs, promising to take care of the Horsemen.
Pero loco.
Nash returns to say they have a plan, and it's a doozy, with Buff Bagwell then revealing the plan, and it's ending the Horsemen's careers. And they basically go over these same points a few more times before they mock Hennig's acceptance into the Horsemen, saying, "It would be an honor," to end the Horsemen.
I mean, these guys are TV cartoon bullies.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work. Personally. For me.
Yeah, it's I can't remember their names from the Power Rangers, but the Rocksteady and Bebop doofus duo that they had. Yeah,
Matt knows the name.
Goldar and...
No, like the people that were in the high school with them.
Oh, Bulk and Skull.
There we go. Yes.
I know you knew.
Yeah, I always think of them just as the Rocksteady and Bebop, but people.
Yeah. Boner comedy bullies.
Yep.
But I think they sign off also by doing the Wolfpack hand sign, which I think may be the Too Sweet, which I think may be one of the first times we've seen that.
Yeah. If we've seen it was in the ring or whatever. It wasn't like as prominent.
We then go to our fifth match, Wrath and Mortis.
Feed me.
With James Vandenberg.
What's up, Mr. Mitchell?
Versus the Faces of Fear, Meng and Barbarian.
You know what's so funny is I was like, okay, the next match is Wrath and Mortis. And I was like, with James Vandenberg, I'm taking my notes and I wrote a big V and an S, and I just started writing Glacier. And then he didn't come out. So I had to whip out the old eraser because why would I assume they would have a match with anybody else?
They've had matches with lots of other people lately.
Sure they have. I don't remember them.
So the story behind this match was started at our 100th episode of Nitro, where Wrath defeated Barbie. And the two teams would trade victories against each other in singles action, while their tag team encounters continued to end in chaotic melees.
That's why they didn't fight the Steiners.
Classic wrestling booking.
So Mortis and Barbarian start us off trading strikes and clotheslines until Barbie lifts Mortis up with a press slam. Meng enters to deliver chops and stomps, sending his opponent to a corner. But Mortis avoids the charging Tongan to tag in Wrath to match power as the two swing wildly. Meng runs into a big boot, followed by Wrath leaping off the second rope with a clothesline, bringing Mortis back in, only to be back body dropped by the Tongan into a powerbomb from Barbarian.
I mean, damn.
Mortis is dumped with a pump handle slam from Barbie for a 2 count, and clubbered down by double teams and chokes from the Faces of Fear. But Mortis starts to rally, only for the Tongan to just absorb everything and chop down Mortis multiple times. Barbarian with a body slam and goes to the top rope. But Vandenberg leaps up to the apron to shake the ropes, causing Barbie to crotch himself, with Mortis meeting him there, only to be headbutted off to the mat, followed by Barbarian leaping off, with Mortis getting a boot up to the chin. And Wrath jumps in the ring with a bicycle kick before a combo powerbomb neckbreaker combo for a near fall, as Meng breaks it up. And Wrath keeps up the attack with a backbreaker and a springboard elbow drop, followed by a second rope rocker dropper from Mortis. When Wrath would come back in for a back suplex and a flying clothesline that sends Barbie to the floor. And Mortis doesn't let the Barbarian rest, as he rams his opponent into the ring steps before also shoving them into his head as well. Now back in the ring, Wrath sets Barbie up on a turnbuckle, bringing Mortis in as well for the two to team up for a Tower of Doom superplex. But it lays everyone out, allowing Barbarian to make the crawl for the hot tag.
The Doomerplex didn't do it.
Meng cleans house with strikes, big boots, and power slams for a 2 count, before flying off the top of the splash, which leads to everyone brawling. Vandenberg sneaks into the ring to interfere, but the Tongan catches him with the death grip, before also applying it to Mortis as well, only to leave himself open for Wrath to take him down from behind with the death penalty for the pin and the win. Much better than I was expected.
Yeah. I had the same thing to say. That was pretty good. And Mort's punches and kicks, Mort being short for Mortis, that is, they look better than everybody that's wrestling today. I can't think of anybody whose punches or kicks look as good as Mortis's do in this match.
Why do you think they say,
who better than?
Who better than? Yeah, I mean,
King.
He's laying it in, and he's got guys he can lay it in with that are big veterans, and it feels like he was really trying to make sure he was seen here, and I'd say that it worked.
Yeah, when you got him in there taking on Barbarian and Meng, who are two of the toughest badasses in the business for the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, they're going to lay it in, and they want you to lay it in because they want it to look good. I mean, but it's professional here. I'm so tired of seeing some of the weakest forearm shots and punches I've ever seen. Just recently in current wrestling, there's been some stuff where I've been just truly disheartened, and it was nice to see this guy in a stupid mask really put in the work.
Mean Gene is then in the Horsemen locker room, but he doesn't know the status of Hennig.
How could we?
But that it doesn't look good. Followed by Benoit saying it's an honor to give the NWO a taste of reality, calling Konnan a wannabe, Syxx just a number, and we all know what Buff is about.
The stuff.
While Nash has been so many characters, they don't know what he's about, but they'll know what the Horsemen are about. Mongo then chimes in that they can run, but they can't hide, asking if they know what Armageddon is, because the Horsemen bring the apocalypse tonight. Okerlund then turns his attention to Flair, with the Nature Boy saying he wouldn't be here if he quit when his back was against the wall. Hennig's down, but he knows if the doctors can put him together, he'll walk that aisle. And Nate starts singing the praises of the Crippler and McMichael, even calling Benoit the best wrestler alive today, before continuing that he has more heart, desire, soul, and reality than the NWO will ever know. That the Horsemen will bleed and sweat, while the NWO will pay the price for life. Woo!
I mean, this is the best Rick promo in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say it's the best Horseman promo we've had in a while.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody
Mongo's line was good. Very good.
Yeah,
and Benoit did a good job.
Yeah,
he didn't get to talk very often, but I thought he did a good job with what he was.
Yeah,
doing.
he sold what he was given for sure. But like we've seen Rick have some pretty nonsensical stuff, and this one's clear-headed and full of energy and the right kind of energy. Not I'm coked out and this doesn't matter energy.
I'm gonna elbow my jacket.
Yeah, maybe when you put Ric Flair in the main event of a pay-per-view, he turns it on a little bit.
Yeah, you put him in there with people that he enjoys working with. Like, well, I don't know if he enjoys working with Scott and old Buff and whatnot, but I mean,
it also helps when you're given an angle.
Throwing a Kurt And yeah, it'll perk you up a little bit.
So we go to our 6th match. Scott Norton versus Giant. And the story behind this match was that Eric Bischoff had placed a restraining order on the big man. So when the Giant came out for a match with Scott on Nitro, Bischoff was in the ring as well, causing the big man to be arrested. The next week, Eric would come out during a Giant match, claiming he had violated the order once again. But the head of security, Doug Dillinger, explained to him that's not how restraining orders work.
Idiot.
Leading to a giant brawl with Norton and the big man at the end of the show.
Giant brawl.
Giant coming out with no music. I love it.
So as our wrestlers make their entrances, Tony rants about no one stepping up to help WCW. Because if the NWO lost a member, they would just replace him. So why can't WCW do the same? As he implores someone to come forward to help. I mean, we've been saying this for a while as well, so
Yeah.
he's not wrong.
Sting, Sting, Sting.
Anyone.
We want Sting.
Z-Man.
I mean, I'm pro Z-Man. Pro Z-Man over here.
Literally at this point, I'd take...
So sue me.
Yep.
I'd take Kevin Sullivan at this point.
Oh. Oh.
As long as he comes out to do something.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Match begins with right hands shared by both men until Scott's clotheslined over the ropes, where the Giant keeps up the attack by slamming Norton's head into the guardrail. And the Giant picks up Scott to throw him into a post, only for Norton to slide out the back, shoving the big man into the steel instead.
Posted.
Scott with right hands and headbutts before trying to suplex the Giant. But it's reversed by the big man, followed by throwing Norton into the railing and nailing a big boot. And Scott's rolled in, but while the Giant makes his way in, Norton clotheslines him to send them both out once again. And they do make it back into the ring this time, with the big man clubs Scott down with elbows and forearms, only for Norton to answer with a low blow and a hot shot across the ropes. And Scott continues with strikes to the throat and ribs, using chops and chokes, before landing several corner splashes and a back suplex for a 1 count. But as the Giant's laying on the mat, he raises his arm into the air, signaling for the choke slam, followed by kipping up to his feet.
Oh my gosh.
He delivers a headbutt, a thrust kick, and a drop kick before dropping Norton with his finisher for the pin and the win.
Crowd liked it. I thought it was pretty good for two big guys. Norton can actually do stuff with the Giant because he's a big buff man, but he doesn't mean much. And it didn't outstay its welcome.
No, I want to say it was
the right amount of time.
quick.
Yeah. Right amount of time. The Giant just didn't, it wasn't like a squash. I mean, look at Scott Norton. He might be a foot shorter, but he's like a foot wider as well. And in pure muscle.
We go to our 7th match. Diamond, Dallas Page, and Lex Luger versus Macho Man Randy Savage and Scott Hall with Miss Elizabeth.
Come on. Dallas Page, Lex Luger, super over baby faces. Scott Hall, he's the best member of the NWO. Randy Savage is, we don't have to, we're not talking.
So the story behind this match was that Lex and DDP were originally in the War Games match when it was WCW. But Piper had removed them because they weren't getting along. They would save each other from NWO beatings, leading to them teaming together at Clash 35. But a blinded Page would give Luger a diamond cutter by accident, followed by Lex placing DDP in the torture rack the next week. They said the attacks were accidents, but refused to talk it out face to face, only agreeing to team up again when Luger would inadvertently nail a running forearm during the match.
Uh-oh.
So Page and Lex decided to settle their differences in a match against each other, only for the NWO to interfere, leading the two fighting together to ward them off. Also, Larry Zbyszko has had a few run-ins with Scott Hall over the last few weeks. it might come into play. Who knows?
I just used the Wayback Machine, guys, because I saw a sign in this show, and I wrote down the address.
Yeah?
To try to find it. I couldn't, but it was toosweet.simplenet.com. I just wanted to see that sweet website.
toosweet.simplenet.com?
Yeah, it's probably like a GeoCities NWO fan site from 97.
Definitely.
But I was like, I've never used the Wayback Machine before, but I've heard about it. So I just looked it up. I didn't get it.
That's a shame.
I know. Would have been cool.
Hall and Luger start us off, shoving each other back and forth out of lockups, with no one gaining an advantage, until a running forearm takes Scott down, leading to Macho entering the ring to get a forearm as well, followed by whipping Savage into Hall and taking them both down with a double clothesline. And Scott rolls out, only for Lex to press slam Macho out onto him, forcing them to regroup momentarily. DDP tags in to take on Hall, but he's worked over by shoulder blocks, arm locks, and slaps, until Page can answer with jabs, a Manhattan drop, and a pancake.
Pancakes.
And DDP's whip's reversed, which sends him to the ropes, where Savage trips him up, allowing the NWO to go back to work on Page with double teams, top rope knee drops, chokes, and fall-away slams. And Macho keeps up the attack with turnbuckle smashes and stomps in their corner, when DDP would fire up, but the NWO would take out Luger, stomping him down in between the two rings to stop them from being able to tag.
Not the 2-ring solution.
Miss Elizabeth even gets involved with the raking of the eyes before Savage tosses Page over the ropes to the other ring, where Scott continues the beatdown, before tossing him back to the original ring, where Macho chokes him. And the ref starts complaining, like, what are you doing? Like, stay in the original ring. So Hall just clocks him, knocking him out.
Ref bump.
Which pisses Zbyszko off and allows Savage and Liz to continue to double-team DDP with more chokes and slaps. Another ref comes down to check on Mark Curtis, only for Scott to sneak around behind Mickey J and stomp him down as well. So Larry throws his headset down and approaches the ring, confronting Hall, when Lex would rise up from between the rings, which Zbyszko sees, shoving Scott into a roll-up, with Larry making the count for the pin and the win. Heenan then yells, if the NWO can make up their own rules, so can WCW.
I mean, Larry Zbyszko, what a king.
Yep.
While Tony says, you lost, go home.
So good. I also, thank you, Shane. I was trying to get my Too Sweet website.
Oh, yeah.
I missed Ref Bump City.
You're good.
We were in Ref Bump City.
We go to Mean Gene on the stage, and he still doesn't have an update on Hennig. But he knows all about the hotline, where Arn Anderson will share what he experienced during the horrible NWO parody. Plus the results from Fall Brawl. Just in case you fell asleep watching the show, you're literally advertising to call to get the results of the show.
Also, I found Too Sweet.
Uh-oh.
You can find some snapshots on Wayback Machine, but unfortunately some of those sweet images are missing. But I got a little Taz and a little Sabu for hardcore headlines. Stitch versus Bitch.
Stitch versus Bitch.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I mean, obviously Sonny versus who's the bitch?
I don't know.
This
is
Francine, maybe?
Sonny and Francine?
Yeah, could be. This is from 98, this snapshot.
Sonny meets Missy.
But there's some of the article stuff, but the links don't all work because they're like snapshots of the website.
Sonny and Missy link up at some point, so I wonder if that's...
Yeah.
That would be it.
To make some movies.
Arn Anderson shares his experience, or what he experienced during the horrible parody. He talks about his hurt feelings and his heartbreak that they made fun of my cul-de-sac and put a neck brace on and made me 7 feet tall.
Yep.
Okay. Poor guy. I hope he's hanging in there.
I mean, now you can just listen to his podcast and get the same thing. You don't have to even call. Okerlund then introduces a commercial for Halloween Havoc, where Macho Man welcomes everyone to his world, where every day is Halloween, as it looks to be an orange post-apocalyptic with burning trash barrels and oddly dressed characters. Savage says there's no way out, followed by WCW will rest in peace. Snap into the madness.
Brought to you by Slim Jim.
Woo.
So we're headed to our 8th match. The NWO of Buff Bagwell, Konnan, Syxx, and Kevin Nash versus the 4 Horsemen of the Crippler, Chris Benoit, Steve, Mongo McMichael, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and Kurt Hennig in a War Games match. So the story behind this match was that Kurt had been invited to join the Horsemen, but he wouldn't accept at first until Arn Anderson offered up his spot in the group as he had to retire.
I mean, what an honor.
The NWO would make a parody of this, which would infuriate the Horsemen. So Piper changed the War Games match for them to fight.
How are you going to disrespect the Enforcer?
How dare you, sir?
Yeah, he's like the most solid, reliable guy of all time.
Michael Buffer calls this the climax of the evening. That honor, glory, and bragging rights are on the line. That it's time to set the stage for the rage in the cage. Before making the introductions, so let's get ready to watch the most telegraphed ending there ever has been.
You're telling me.
Yep. Here we go.
First in for both teams is Bagwell and the Crippler, with Benoit taking control with strikes, slaps, and tossing Buff into the cage, until he misses a flying headbutt, allowing Bagwell to stomp, choke, and throw the Crippler into the cage. Buff with a drop kick and more chokes, followed by a back body drop into the wall, as we are told the NWO won the coin toss. Shocker, I know. So they will have the advantage.
Somebody check that coin.
I mean, the War Games match makes more sense when you don't know as much about wrestling in a pre-internet era. But now it's like, okay, well, you know, the babyfaces got to work from underneath. So, of course, they're going to fill the ring with heels.
Always, every time.
Not true. They did it in NXT one time where the faces had the advantage.
Oh, really?
But I did not watch that one, so of the ones I've seen, it's always every time.
Which one was that?
I believe it was the...
It's like
I think Kevin
I
Owens.
think it was the woman's one when
Oh, okay.
Io Sky jumped off the top.
trash can
the
trash
first
can.
time.
Yeah, the
Okay,
first time.
I have seen that one.
I think. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
It won't be
I
fast.
mostly just remember was it the Viking guys, the one where they did like the crazy giant suplex spot. I don't know. It was a couple years before that.
Like,
The War Raiders?
Was it War Raiders?
Well, if they were NXT, then yeah, they were still the War Raiders.
Yeah, it was those guys in I'm pretty sure it was a War Games match. I don't know. It was a while ago. And
You just can't have war in the name on a show called Raw's War. It just doesn't work.
yeah, it makes it sound like they're the stars. They got to earn it.
Can't have Eric either because he's hurt.
Yep. And now so is Ivar.
Konnan enters the ring with Benoit fending his opponents off with drop kicks, slams, and suplexes, running them into the cage. But Bagwell boots him in the gut before K-Dog can nail a DDT, and they throw the Crippler into the wall.
Just getting thrown around there, Crippler.
2 minutes has passed, so Mongo comes in to clothesline and body slam the NWO before a 3-point stance on Konnan. And the Horsemen whip their opponents towards each other, only for K-Dog to leapfrog Buff. But still, they run into boots from Benoit and McMichael. And the NWO are being choked by the Horsemen when another 2 minutes has passed, bringing Syxx into the ring to eat some Crippler chops, followed by whipping him into the cage and Bagwell.
Just ragdoll him. I do love that Syxx walks in and just immediately gets decked by Chris Benoit.
I mean, of all the people there, isn't he the one you want to hit first?
I mean,
Or
Bagwell,
would you go
but
for
Bagwell's much bigger. He's he might be a bigger nerd, but more imposing.
Mongo comes over to press the kid into the ceiling of the cage before Benoit locks on a crossface, only for Buff to break it up, leaving the NWO in control. And Syxx goes for a Bronco Buster, but the Crippler avoids and backdrops the kid into the cage. When Curt Hennig makes his way out to the ring with his arm in a sling.
But we want Sting.
In the ring.
And of course we do. Without a sling.
Nate checks on him with Curt saying he's ready before entering the cage as Benoit is being double-teamed, handing out chops to everyone and raking Syxx's face on the mesh. Michael nails an elbow drop and a backbreaker to Konnan, while Flair and the Kid fight to the other ring when Nash would enter and deliver a side slam to the Nature Boy. And Kevin continues by ramming the Crippler into the cage and hitting a big boot to Mongo, followed by Syxx and Buff double-teaming Nate, until Flair can go low on both men, locking the figure four on the Kid as Hennig enters the ring. And Curt immediately removes his sling and reveals handcuffs.
He's not hurt. He swings him around. Very funnily. It's very funny.
Like nunchucks.
Uh-huh.
He looks to go after Nash, but just pulls him aside and nails McMichael instead.
Oh my god. Can you believe it?
K-Dog and Kevin start handcuffing Mongo and Benoit to the cage, while the rest beat down the Nature Boy, followed by Curt ripping his Horseman t-shirt off, while Nash grabs a mic, asking the Horsemen if they surrender.
Let's hear it, boys.
They spit in his face, telling him to bite them. The Crippler even tries to rip the cuffs off the wall, all while the NWO just continues attacking Nate.
I mean, Chris Benoit's performance in this whole match is great, but him, just immediately, he's the first one to ask, and he just, hawks a loogie right in his face.
Kevin delivers a jackknife powerbomb, but the other Horsemen still won't quit, until Hennig drags Flair to the cage door, as Nash says they'll slam it on the Nature Boy's head if they don't surrender.
Give him that brain guillotine.
Michael then yells that they have to stop it, with the ref accepting that as a surrender.
Yeah, he says
for the win.
Yeah, he says you have to stop this. You gotta stop.
But Curt slams the door anyways.
Dick, son of a bitch.
Post-match, Nate writhes around in pain, with Bagwell asking them how they feel, while Kevin says it's the death of the Horsemen.
Right in their own backyard.
And the NWO celebrates as Tony says his goodbyes, and we go to credits. I do have a fun fact.
A fact?
A fact. I don't know how fun it is, but so WCW over the next month or so would actually sell the cage door to the face as a legitimate injury, showing Flair getting surgery.
Wow.
But it was because he actually had surgery scheduled for the next day. Basically, they did this to keep him off TV for a little while.
I mean, it's a good way to do it. The way that the cage slam is shot, it looks pretty nasty.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like one of those, It doesn't look bad or fake.
So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Fall Brawl 1997?
There's some really good stuff here, but there's nothing quite special, and there's nothing awful either. There's a couple of great fucking matches on here, but the Curt Hennig turn is basically the show, and it's telegraphed pretty hard. I think that when the turn happens, the beatdown is sold pretty well, but the turn's not. It's not going to be in most surprising. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, like you said, there's a few good matches at the start there. Let me put it back here. See what my favorites that jumped out at me were real quick.
I think I like every match on the show.
Eddie and Chris was good. I had fun with the Steiners and Harlem Heat. Ultimo and Alex was good.
Yeah.
Jeff and Dean were good.
I mean, that's a great... all the matches.
Mortis and Faces of Fear were better than expected.
Yeah, I'll even give
Norton Giant was just kind of a...
It was good for what it was, but it wasn't necessary. It didn't feel necessary.
Yeah, I mean, up until... And it's not that I didn't like the main event. It's just... It was way too predictable.
It was just missing the juice.
From the second the NWO run past Mean Gene backstage, you knew that Curt was going to turn.
Yeah.
Especially when, I guess, just reading the description for the match that Kurt didn't accept it until Arn offered him his spot.
Yeah, and
or he wouldn't accept it.
They didn't show him get beat up either.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was good up until that, and then it was just kind of a...
Yeah. I think that the tag match before this was short, but very effectively fun.
Yeah, I had fun on that one, but...
Zbyszko, a king.
So yeah, this isn't a horrible show, but it is disappointing.
Yeah. Because War Games is disappointing a lot of the times.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't watch more TVs, as most of these matches, except for War Games, had been done before on Nitros and the latest Clash.
And chances are these were the better versions of them.
Possibly. Plus you add in that some of these matches, in my opinion, probably were a couple minutes maybe too long. Like, some of these matches were long.
I mean, because War Games...
I'm looking at you, Alex Wright, and Ultimo Dragon.
And I think it was very good, but trim 2
it was
minutes
good.
off of it.
Yeah, trim 2 minutes off of it. Let's not go to the sleeper 17 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit better of a match. And then you get this ending, which is kind of what WCW just does at this point. Never really leaving you with any hope.
Yeah.
Yep,
WCW, like, Lex got a little bit of some light for a day or two, and then it's just, like, back to the same old shit, where it's like, you can't just have the babyface should be fucked over more often than he wins, but you can't just fuck him over every time.
Yeah, I mean,
ECW
moved away from the shit endings that they had for the longest time there, and it seems like WCW just kind of quickly went in and swept it up and brought it over to their place instead, because this is why I didn't like the NWO, because it sucked all the fun out of wrestling. I mean, it was cool when it started, but then it was just like, all right, cool.
All right,
next show.
The idea of it when it started was
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the
it just
execution
completely zapped the fun out of it. And unfortunately, a lot of it's because of politics.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, well, we're not going to lose. It's like, well, then what are we going to do? It's like, well, I guess we'll fuck you again. It's like, cool.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right, fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of this show?
Zbyszko.
That was fun, yeah.
It was so fun. And I just love Larry Zbyszko anyway, so it was just nice to see him in a spot that was, like, really fun and not silly. It felt like righteous anger and frustration. Because the NWO has earned righteous frustration and anger.
Harlem Heat's Heat Seeker.
Yes,
yeah, very
that
cool.
was sick.
I mean, I love
the first match is very, very good.
Yeah, just the whole ending sequence there with the supposed to be a power or a superplex, and then switching to a
the crossbody.
That one. At first, I thought, oh shit, somebody fucked up, but then once they showed the replay, I was like, okay, no, that was planned.
Yeah, but I love all of, like, the lower card matches on this show. I think they're really fun and well done. Loved me some Malenko Jarrett. I like Alex Wright, and I almost said Hayabusa, but and Ultimo Dragon. I mean, yeah, the show as a whole is very watchable. Yeah. It's just that the conceit of the show is not a surprise.
Yeah, it's like you have this great thing, and then, we'll use the cake that we had as an example. Those first 7-8 bites were incredible, and then you get to that last one, and it's just like this.
I think my teeth are falling out.
Well, not even that. It's just there's this funky pit in the cherry that is in that last bite, and it's like, all right, well now, I've got a cracked tooth that I have to wait until the next show because this is what you left me with.
And they wanted Sting.
Everybody wants Sting,
and of course they do.
The Dean and Jarrett pin sequence that was at the very end of the match. So good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like there's a lot of really good in-ring wrestling on this show. And unfortunately, the sour note is... It's like there's a way... And I think that they did a good job after the turn happened at, like, being dickheads and everybody, like, not wanting to give up and blah, blah, blah. And the head slam to Ric Flair was good. But you could see it coming, and there had to have been better way to do it, but at this point it was kind of too late.
Also, I mean, as much as I'm bitching about the main event,
not the worst War Games.
Curt Hennig, when he got in there and the switch happened, he was vicious as fuck.
Yeah.
Like I mean, maybe it's because I haven't seen him just active in the ring in a while, but he just went to town and looked like he was in there just to rip people to shreds as he was doing the quick punches and shit to their face.
I mean, he also doesn't have probably the opportunity to politic and stuff. It means more when he gets the spot and like has to come off good in it, because Scott and Nash can sleepwalk through the stuff if they want to. Mm-hmm. Because of the way their contracts are. And Hogan has been sleepwalking since fucking 1990.
And I'm going to give it to the crowd also, because they kind of smelled what was happening and were booing him as he walked out.
Yeah, that is true. It's like it's pretty crazy.
Like I said,
it was that obvious.
It's the most telegraphed thing that I think they've ever done.
It's pretty bad when the crowd already knows what's up. It makes you all look foolish.
I mean, we've kind of already started talking about most disappointing.
But yeah, that's it.
But I want to mention that it literally felt like every match probably could have shaved off a couple minutes. Because there was just a little bit, maybe too much of the chinlock, sleeper type moves in a lot of these matches. Like, it literally felt like, oh, yeah, we got to go this long. What can we do now? Not sure what we have in the arsenal to ramp this up.
Can we do the sleeper spot again? It's like, we can do that.
It's what I got to do to get a test of strength, I'm telling you.
I will say that a lot of that had to do with maybe if they booked out this War Games match to be a little bit more convincing, then it would have... Because like as soon as Curt Hennig comes in, the match is basically over. So you don't really get a match beyond. Like, it's the shortest War Games ever. It's like 15 minutes. It's like so short.
It is the longest match on this show.
Yeah,
by about a minute.
But like it feels incredibly short.
Oh yeah, it feels.
A War Games match would normally be like 30, 40 minutes.
I mean, when you think about it, the first two people go 5 minutes, and then every 2 minutes after that.
Yeah. So
you're you should be at 17 minutes.
Yeah.
When the match beyond begins. This match goes 19 and a half minutes.
I told you, it's over before it begins. Like, it should be at least 5 minutes longer, but probably more than that. But because of what they were doing.
But at the same time, if Hennig were to come in there and start fighting in the NWO, and then decide to just all of a sudden go, screw it.
Yeah,
let's handcuff the other group.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, like,
it works, but it doesn't work.
The execution of what they were going for, they did correctly, but
the leading up to it
was completely telegraphed. We saw that it was coming. We knew it was coming. Like,
it wasn't cleverly done.
It's all Piper's fault.
Don't ever blame the man.
He put him in there because Lex and DDP couldn't get along.
Also,
that match was, to me, a comedy match.
It was. It absolutely was. Yeah. But it was fun. It was a good comedy match.
But I don't feel like anyone came out of that match looking good other than Zbyszko.
Yeah, that's it.
So, like, you literally have your two top faces in Luger and DDP basically in a match for absolutely no reason.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they don't have to look good, but you can't do this to them all the time. They didn't get beat down or whatever. But yeah, I know what you mean. But Zbyszko, he made a meal out of his opportunity, and I can't be mad at that.
How about best performer of the night? Is it Eddie? Is it...
I'm going to give it to...
Zbyszko? Is it...
It's Eddie. Zbyszko was fun, but Eddie had a wonderful match, and he had a little bit of extra in him.
I mean, it could be
Eddie did the most.
The Horsemen, just for the promo.
Yeah, the promo. I mean, and they did a good job. And,
I mean,
like I said, I enjoyed the War Games match for what it was.
You just didn't enjoy that you knew what was going to happen.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, Chris Benoit was vicious in there, which was nice. He had a great performance. But I mean, Eddie feels like he's plussed up in this.
Yeah, with his heel turn,
he
looking great.
definitely had a glow.
He's been good for a very long time, but like he's just like, oh, he turned on the switch and we can all see it.
You can see a little bit of that Latino heat shining through.
Absolutely.
And how about most surprising? Because we know it's not the turn.
That they made it so obvious is almost surprising.
That's true. I mean, Jarrett's the number one contender. Doesn't make it to the match. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. I didn't say it then because I didn't want to spoil. I didn't want to spoil the turn, guys.
Yeah.
But Mongo loses the belt the next night on Nitro to Kurt Hennig.
Oh.
And so, literally, Mongo or Jarrett's not even in the match for the U.S. belt for Halloween Havoc.
That's fun.
Awesome.
I mean, if Jarrett's not going to be in it, then you might as well take it off Mongo.
Exactly. I mean,
his point is like, well, we can work up something with Hennig and
but it's still another
else.
Horseman that's in the match.
Yeah.
Probably figure out which one. And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The dusty finish.
Hulk Hogan had arrived in WCW, winning the World Heavyweight Championship in his first match with the company. The Hulkster would defend the belt over the next 15 months until the Giant would arrive to make a challenge on October 29th, 1995 at Halloween Havoc. The Giant, born 1972, played basketball through high school and college due to him being 6'2" by the time he was 12 and 7'1" by 19. Because of being born with acromegaly. After school, he would work various jobs such as bouncing and bounty hunting before beginning to train at the Monster Factory with Larry Sharp. The Giant would meet Danny Bonaducci, who would then introduce him to Hulk Hogan, leading to the Giant being signed by WCW. He would be billed as the son of Andre the Giant, making an impact at Slamboree, being a thorn in the Hulkster side until making his professional wrestling debut. The Giant's manager had placed a stipulation in the contract for the match that if Hogan lost via DQ, the WCW World Heavyweight Championship would change hands, giving the Giant the belt in his first match with the company. WCW would nullify the title change due to the circumstances, and the championship would be vacated, putting the championship on the line in the biggest match yet.
Was it? The biggest match yet.
I mean, there were 60 men.
Yeah, it was. There was 60 men. And boy, it was fun to watch. You can find it. It's in the
2.5 of them were
in the
Giants.
archive.
Next week, one night only, 1997.
We're going somewhere.
Yeah, we are.
Across the pond.
Across the pond. Oh, hell yes. We're going to England, as they say on Austin Powers. Birmingham, not Alabama. We're going to England, damn it. We're hopping that pond. We're going over to see Fergie and the royal family and drink some Boddingtons. And I'm trying to think of everywhere that they went on Friends when they went to London.
I don't know. You got me, Shane.
But yay, we're getting out of this country.
For the weekend, at least.
Woo! At least one night.
For one night.
Only. Music from this week's show is Bushwhacked by Chopin and Tassari.
Not Bushwhacked
and Mike Slammer. And the NWO won our main event. So we play their music, Rock House by FCO Music. If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there and rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcast at. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns...
Oh my god, I figured out what FCO means. For crying out loud. Music. Yes, we're going to England. What the hell should I make? What should I bring? We've only been there once before, and I know I made it.
Bangers and Bosch.
Yeah.
Last time we had
beans on toast.
Traditional English breakfast, but turned it into a sandwich.
I think we had beans on toast with the sandwich.
We had toast and beans and eggs and sausage.
Which was delicious.
And grilled tomatoes and sauteed mushroom. I remember that one. That was fucking good.
A menagerie.
We'll see what we come up with. Give me some ideas. Slide into our DMs. Hit us up on the old Twitter because I refuse to call it X.
You can send any of those things to our email at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on X at WrestlingHistoryX. That's Wrestling HISTO X. We'll talk to you next week.
That's the only time I'll say X laters.
New world order.